Hey guys, welcome to the Frack and Friend Show. Today's guest and one of our favorite co-hosts ever is Mr. Anthony from Prom King Collection.
What's up, guys? What's up, friends?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Going good, man. Going good. I can't complain.
You've been away.
I have been on vacation. I just got back and enjoying a couple days off of before I have to go back to work. And yeah, I'm refreshed almost. Maybe one more sleep.
Yeah. I mean, you've been in the sun for, what was it, like a week?
A week. Yeah. So I took my mother to Greece for her birthday. It was like a delayed COVID 60th birthday for her. So we did a little hopping around Greece, like 2 nights in Santorini, Mykonos, Athens. And yeah, I'm glad to be back. It was a really fun trip. And if anyone has a chance to travel overseas, I'm gonna say Greece is at the top of the list with like probably Thailand. It was a great time.
So you've been to Thailand?
Great food. Yeah, I've been there years ago. That's probably been my favorite trip. So it's like Thailand and then Greece right there.
Man, did you at least get some good pizza?
I got a good little bit of everything. So some good Mediterranean food. We had a little bit of pizza on the hungover days. Yeah, just great food, great people, gorgeous. Like the pictures don't even explain or do it justice, you know.
Yeah, you guys
a lot of walking. Walking.
I was gonna say you guys probably walked quite a lot according to these pictures. I mean, every few hours you were somewhere that looked completely different, you know?
Right.
That's the best thing, man. I was in New York a few weeks ago and my friend, who was there, but we were just separated because he was with his son and they were just doing other things. He would text me and say, "Where are you?" And I was in Jersey or somewhere. And then the next point I'm like, "Oh, I'm in Coney Island." I'm at, different places all across New York. And, thanks to the train system, but I never stayed in one place long enough to, really say like, "Oh, I'm going to just settle down and do this and this." And
well, that's the magical thing about New York. You literally turn like two corners and you're like in a whole different world. So awesome.
You go from Chelsea to Soho to, it's just so crazy, man, how, even the homes, like I remember in Soho, beautiful, like apartment kind of complex, or not even a complex, but like just beautiful, well orchestrated looking homes everywhere. And then you turn and it's like, oh, you're in some kind of trashy part of the city.
You're like in Sex and the City, and then you're all of a sudden you're in the
yeah, like literally that's how it is, man. And then the next point you turn a block away from where the location of Sex and the City Paris scenes were. You're at Rachel's apartment from Friends, a block away.
Crazy. And then like down the street, you're like at 1515 where TRL was.
Yeah. Oh man.
Love New York.
I just stared at those windows. I love traveling myself. And so anytime I'm able to go somewhere, I hop on a plane or just hop in my car and just go. Just, 3 days ago, I went to the Woodlands to attend the Backstreet Boys DNA tour.
Hey.
Yeah, it's this is my third time seeing the DNA tour in person and my 150th seeing it thanks to the Argentina YouTube concert that they had online. But it was amazing.
I wore this just for you today.
Oh, come on, man. I didn't even buy a shirt this time, man. I didn't buy a shirt.
If you can't find them at the shows, like I think I got this at Hot Topic, like online.
See?
Target, Hot Topic, they all sell like awesome band shirts.
Target is a great representation of 90s.
Target and Walmart.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And Walmart's got so many 80s clothing too now.
Dude, Walmart has really good record collections of like old school stuff. Like literally all the records I have are probably from Walmart.
That's crazy, man.
Britney, Backstreet, like Christina, who else? TLC, Spice Girls. They have it all.
Dude.
Who would have known?
Yeah, of all places, Walmart.
Right.
But
I don't have one close to me. I have to do it online. But anyway.
Oh,
so
man.
DNA.
I have one like down the street. It's a neighborhood market, but the big one, the super center, is across the bridge right here. Not
Nice.
far at all. But
You're lucky. All we have are targets.
see, our target is 45 minutes away.
How funny. We're like reverse.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, DNA was the inspiration or the inspiring moments for me, the highlights would be meeting a lot of the frackers. There was so many of them that I've never met before. And
That
there
is
was a
awesome.
couple that, I knew as townies, and we all hung out at the Houston show for OTown last year. So we were all familiar with each other. But there was a lot of people. I think by the time the show started, I had almost lost pretty much my voice and I'm still struggling with getting it back because I've just been talking nonstop.
Right.
But yeah, it was incredible, man. The concert was amazing. And I will say, one of the highlights or memorable moments for me, of course, was meeting the Backstreet Boys for the very first time in my life at 29 years old.
So cool.
It was a huge goal of mine to always meet them. And of course, in the previous show, I had Brian and got to speak to him and everything. And that was remarkable. But to finally sit here and say, I met the Backstreet Boys was incredible.
Iconic.
It was unbelievable in every way that the whole situation even happened,
So cool to finally like meet your favorite people, like one of my favorite things.
It's unreal, because like when I was growing up, I never thought something like this would be possible, and even with this show, 50 plus guests that, I've met, never thought anything like this was ever going to be possible.
To come to fruition. That's awesome.
Yeah. And
I'm jealous. I still haven't got to meet them. So, hey, you dude, you're a lucky guy.
You should absolutely want to meet them. But I will say, I did not have a good meet and greet or VIP experience at all. And I will go in detail one day. Right. But I do want to reach out to the team. I do want to reach out to people and hope that I can help, or recommend, enhance and make changes. Because I think as a fan who met them for the very first time, it was so disappointing in so many ways. And I will absolutely discuss that in the future. But I do want to.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but I guess the most important thing about it, not excusing it whatsoever that happened, but I finally got to get a photo with them,
Hey.
But overall the concert was incredible. The boys they were on point with their vocals, with their harmonies. The guy
you got your first photo with them. That's great. Like I literally have my first photo with OTown framed with the girls I was with. Just you gotta have that, your favorite band's photo. So now you got it. Now you put it on your desk there.
And is that TLC in the back with you?
No. This is Jenny D. Kane's Welcome to the Dollhouse album.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, autographed too, huh?
Autographed, man.
Wow.
Yeah. My TLC photo. Unfortunately, I lost the phone that was in, and it didn't have the cloud. So, and this was when Instagram. It was cool to make them in little squares. Oh, so yeah. I'll have to do another TLC VIP.
That is the absolute way, man. That is the absolute way. I was thinking about this the other day. There's a lot more people that I personally want to meet. Of course, I do want to meet the guys from New Kids on the Block. I think that would be remarkable. And sadly,
awesome.
I had someone question me at the a couple people, but asking why I haven't met them yet. And I'm like, I don't know them. Yeah. I mean, I do this show and I have opportunities to meet a lot of people now. And it's only, there's some huge announcements that are coming, which, one or two. But, the opportunities are just, incredible. And just the opportunity of being able to meet the Backstreet Boys finally was a very remarkable deal
Such
for
a
me.
treat. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so meeting everybody at the concert, was truly maybe even the biggest highlight, because a lot of them, we've seen each other on the internet and things like that, but it was just incredible to sit down with individuals or them find me on the lawn with some of the other frackers and just talk, have a conversation. And it was just so busy the whole time.
A lot going on.
And I will say, I was the first person at the pavilion, by the way. The very first
I saw
person. That was, I had arrived at like 12:30, I think. It didn't, the VIP didn't start till 4:30, and the show didn't start till 7:30. But
Did you get some lunch?
I did. So one of the frackers, his name is Carlos, super, super amazing guy. He's a big townie, big Backstreet fan.
Big townie. Okay,
Yeah,
I got to meet this guy.
he is incredible, man. He's such an awesome dude. I had texted him at like 10 o'clock in the morning and said, hey, you want to go to IHOP? So we went to
Awesome.
IHOP and just had a good little meal, just hanging out, talking and eating a lot of pancakes and
There you
what
go.
was it? French toast. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great day overall. It was an absolute amazing day. It was definitely worth the drive, and I was very, very happy to be able to go. And shout out to my buddy Paul. My buddy Paul. Well, I won't say his last name because I don't know if he wants me to. But he's the guy. I stay with him and his family every time I go see a concert or anything in the Woodlands, and they're just always, he's like my brother, and he's one of the closest things I have to a brother in my life. And I've been knowing him for years and years, and we do a lot of cons together, a lot of things like that. But he refuses to go to a boy band concert, so we got to work on that.
So you got to get him at one of those like 90s ones where they like have it mixed,
Yeah. And he's born in the 80s,
Okay.
so I guess, I mean, of course there was the new edition at the time, or new kids as well. But, it's like, I find a lot, and maybe we can actually, this could be the first thing we really truly dive into, but I find people who weren't born in the 90s in particular are not the greatest fans. And 80s
They don't
too.
understand. They don't
Yeah,
understand.
like let's just say 70s, okay? People in the 70s, I find, don't understand the boy band craze. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's just like, we grew up in the 90s and also all the 90s people are amazing, and the people who grew up in the 70s and 80s, they're like, mm-mm. But same thing like
is he
us.
a 70s, 80s guy?
I think so. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
he's born, he was born in the 80s. I think he might have been born in like 81 or I don't
Okay.
even know. He looks really young, but he told me he's like close to 40. I don't believe
Yeah,
that.
it's probably one of those things where like, some of us like pop, some of us like rock, some of us like rap, some
Yeah.
of us like country. It's just all different.
And I mean, especially like us today, right? So we were born in the 90s. We think that music is, the music was just remarkable, incredible.
I
But
appreciate you, man. I was born in the 80s, but thank you.
I mean, but like when it comes down to it, it's a funny thing because the music and the music today, even the movies today, like they don't resonate the way they, the 80s and 90s, I mean, and 70s and 60s did for me at least,
For sure. The plots are different. The storylines, it's not the same content and character you get that you got back then.
That's really
It's just,
disappointing,
yeah.
you know?
Even when they try to remake it, you're like, okay, they did all right.
Most of the time I'm like, well, they ruined it.
Right. Left it how it was.
So one of my first questions for you is, what do you think about, let's just say, these 80s and 90s bands when they come out with their newer music? We grew up on loving the classics, but what do you think
Right.
about, let's just say, like Backstreet Boys DNA, things like
Right.
that?
Okay, so it's funny because she's off air now, but like she would always say this. Wendy Williams would say, oh, we love that you're TLC. We love you guys that you guys are coming back and doing this tour. But we don't want to hear the new stuff. We want to hear the oldies. We want to hear Creep. We
Wow.
want to hear Waterfalls. She says this to her guests. She had no shame. In my opinion, I think it's super cool to have like the songs that we know and grew up with, and like a lot of these artists, and most of them do like the plethora of their top five, top 10 hits, and then do half of their new music or, whatnot. I love it
Yeah.
because I feel like we get such a good taste of like what is now, but they put like a spin on who they are and like keep true to it. Like, 98 does that. Backstreet did that with DNA. Like I love the DNA
Mm,
album. I think it's
yeah.
amazing. Um, it like I'm trying to remember the song right now. No Place Like Home still has like a
Yeah.
a very like nostalgic 90s 2000 touch to it. And Don't Go Breaking My Heart is like they took that dance
Ooh.
and they brought it into like a really cool like it's still them and they're saying
Yeah.
things are still them. Keyword heart with all their
That's right.
never break your heart.
That's
Um,
right.
you know, Shape of My Heart. It just
Yeah.
anyway. I think they did a pretty good job, like combining all that. OTown, TLC. Their
Yeah.
last album was like 5 years ago. All these artists, I feel like a new album or even song from a group is like a gift to us from them, and it's a way to continue their legacy and to get them to continue
Yeah.
to tour. Like most of these artists, unless you're the top 20 on radio, 15 on radio, they're not
Hmm.
making a ton of money off of music. They're making the money off the tour. And what
Oh
do we
yeah.
like to see? We like to go see the show. We like to go see the tour. We like to go meet people. We like to go meet them. We want to hear the live
Definitely.
music. And so I think I enjoy both, you know.
That's awesome, man. That's a really good way of putting it too, because I personally I agree with you. I especially love the DNA album. Chances. It sounds something of the night. Like it sounds something of today, but the '90s as well.
Very
And
Backstreet, yeah.
one of the greatest songs, I would say, as much as I love the older songs, it's in my top songs of the Backstreet Boys because it was so wonderfully done, and especially "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" as well. That one I remember. I remember where I was. I remember when I was watching it. My reaction was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like they're synchronized dancing. It was just insane to see it.
Fantastic job. Yeah. I do wish though that like we heard all of them sing in it.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think it's just three, right? The three that we normally always hear. Or is it
yeah,
just two? No
yeah,
Howie, there's no Kevin.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. But like, I mean, at least they're singing in the chorus. But I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
you know what I mean, solo wise. I love Passionate. That's my favorite song on the album.
oh yeah, man.
It's
I saw
funky, it's
yeah.
very like has that like
Passionate,
twang to it.
just
Yep.
I need to get.
Hey,
My favorite, I think the reason why Chances was my absolute most favorite. I mean, Don't Go Break My Heart ties it, but to me, anytime Kevin comes in, it's like he's saving the day. Like for a
yeah,
song, and I wanted that way and breathe and different things. Like it's always Kevin that always gets the big applause, the big screams when he does,
right.
a line or two or a whole verse.
Totally.
It's great to see them continue and not.
It's great to see growth, you know?
Yes, and that's, I think it's really important because even when these artists from 40 years ago, like, okay, let's just say like Steve Perry released a new album about 5 years ago or so called No Erasing, and Steve Perry was the original, or the well-known singer of Journey. I mean, he wrote most of all the hits and everything at that time, and I remember him coming out or beforehand, people were like, "Oh, he's so old, and can he still sing?" Because no one heard him sing since he left Journey in the '90s. Like, um,
Right.
and the dude just blew me away because
How cool.
I mean, his vocal
I mean, he's a
range,
legend.
yeah, and you could just hear the journey in him still, you know. But so I really enjoy listening and seeing people, like you said, progress and grow by releasing new music. And it doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world. There's too much high expectation, especially with like Backstreet Boys or different, artists when they release a new album, compared to something 30 years ago that was like a masterpiece.
Right. I mean, what I think is like, how boring would it be if like you don't, you're the same as you were when you were 20
Mm,
years old, 18 years
yeah.
old, and now you're 30, 40 years old. Like, how boring and like lame would the world be if your music's done the same, you know? So I like
Yeah.
it. I like to see the growth. I like to see the passion. Like, a lot of these
Hmm.
people have gone through a lot, and have kids and have families, and just to see like, the plethora of work go from this like pop machine to grown men and women who have a
Yeah.
story, and it continues to tell their story. I don't know, I love it.
And that's the thing about it, because when Steve Perry, the reason, Steve Perry was just done with music, and his girlfriend that he was with for like, I think 10, 15 years, she died of, I believe, cancer. And she told him
Oh
on
man.
her deathbed, you need to get back to singing. Like, don't, you need to go ahead and start it. And so that album was written with her, like as a tribute to her. And just talking, like the song No Erasing is talking about, like, reminiscing about the good times of being in the back of their car together and different
Right.
things like that. It's a beautiful, beautiful record. But beforehand, he said he had no intention ever coming back to the studio and recording an album or letting anyone hear him sing, which is why, the the closest thing you ever heard him singing was Don't Stop Believing, him just singing it in the crowd at a baseball game with no
Huh.
microphone. That was the closest thing anyone's heard 20 plus years.
Right.
So, I personally love when people are inspired. And like you just said, when people have a story, and you don't really get that in a lot of albums nowadays. Nowadays, it's just featured, featured, featured. Like, it's just random things.
Totally. I just feel it's so cool to like, because back then you're giving these producers like, okay, say like Backstreet, Max Martin, and whatnot.
Mm,
I feel
yeah,
like these artists now, they have so much more of their hands in the music, and so much more of like who they are in it. And it's like it's basically those are their babies too, but these are like a
yeah,
newer version of it. And I don't know. It's just a cool thing to see, these gentlemen and women be able to showcase like probably something more close to their heart than that stuff was. Yeah,
yeah,
that stuff is great and amazing, but this stuff
yeah.
is like they put their like foot in it.
Which, a perfect example of In a World Like This by the Backstreet Boys. That album was written by them. The majority was written by them. They had full control, or at least, like, I'd say 90% control. It was their own label they created. And that's why, some of the greatest songs that we know, like "Show 'Em What You Made Of," was written with, about their family and about their kids.
So cool. Yeah.
The anthem, the Backstreet Boy anthem, and that's really, really neat to be able to have that control to give, people what they want. And it's just inspiring.
Totally. Totally.
But yeah, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is what are your thoughts on live performances versus the albums? Like, we'll start with boy bands first, because I know we've been to quite a bit of boy bands concerts, but I know when I go see shows, it's always incredible and always refreshing to see, let's just say, like the Backstreet Boys, be able to do, not change things up completely. Because when I go to concerts, a lot of times I'll go see a concert and it sounds nothing like them. Their key is way, way, way dumbed down. to where you can't even recognize it. Even artists today who just released their single a week ago, you go see them and they can't sing or perform the way they do in the
On the
studio.
track, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on on people like the Backstreet Boys who are able to do that, versus today's artists?
Right. I enjoy a live concert. I think it's so fun to see an artist take their body of work and then, project it onto a stage and give us a show. And
Yeah.
it's so fun to see them put like a little twang on As Long As You Love Me, or,
Yeah.
I Want It That Way. And like they sing it the way it is, but it's just a
Hmm.
different version because it's live, and it's really fun to see them, change up a little. Like they don't hit the note exactly the same, but they hit it
Yeah.
kind of cooler,
Yeah.
or like, for instance, like, I'm trying to remember the part of Dan in OTown, what he says. He'll change up a word and he'll like throw in a little bad word in there, and everyone just screams because that's so not Dan. Dan is not like a bad boy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, it's just really fun to see them put a different interpretation on songs that we listen to on the daily of our soundtracks to our lives. And it's just,
Yeah.
I love a live show. Love to see like a nice little breakdown, like even when they do snippets of songs and put them together, because they can't do
Yeah.
every single track.
Sadly.
And sadly, yeah, we'd want to see that
Yeah.
all. But yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, not all the artists that we see on the radio or hear on the radio nowadays can do all that.
Yeah.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great example.
Yeah.
You know,
Cardi
it,
B can.
yeah, yeah. She's like someone like Jason Mraz. They talk the way they sing or the way they
Right.
rap, or and Jason Mraz is just a great example because the guy just a few years ago was talking about how many packs of cigarettes he smokes a day, and you would never know it. Even now, you can go watch a live video from last week and say, well, the dude sounds the exact same as the album, I'm Yours. I mean, all these
Right.
years later. And it's crazy because we've been to a lot of concerts, and I find it's always the boy bands, it's always the 90s groups that tend to sound the same.
Right, totally.
Even people in the 80s, even like Fleetwood Mac and things like that, like they sound incredible for their age.
They still got it.
Yeah,
still got
yeah, especially
Were you-
Stevie Nicks.
I think you were you at that Chicago it was like a 90s con thing with like Joy Fatone,
Oh,
TLC.
yeah. So I was not there, no.
Okay.
But I heard everything.
Somebody did a little stage or the TLC, Nick Carter,
Yep.
Joey Fatone, and AJ. They at the end of it, the boys wanted to learn the whole like waterfalls TLC dance, and they went up there and like sang it with them. It was pretty cool. Except
Yeah.
the boys weren't really they didn't really sing it with them, so they were kind of like left hanging. But it was cool to see them all, get up
Yeah.
there and learn like the iconic,
I think it's-
waterfalls little dance. And
I think it's time to form a group, man. I mean, we really do. I know there was that thing that happened last year with Backstreet and members of NSYNC, but we really need a super group of girls and guys. Let's just say 10. And
right.
a little bit of OTown, a little bit of Backstreet, TLC, NSYNC. I'm talking about everybody that's that was and is something of the 90s, because man, what a show that would be.
I think they always continue to kind of like circle around to that. So when they did it was like Lance Bass, Joey Fatone, Nick Carter, AJ McLean, they did something for like a gay rights charity. It might have been the cover project. Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like that was such a cool thing to see. I was like, I wish I was in LA for that. Like that would have been so cool to see. And then Eric from OTown did his Christmas special last year and had like Boyz II Men, NSYNC guys, 98 in there. So I think they're always gonna all come around because they're all friends and do these cool little like bits together, which we love.
Yeah, yeah. I
We
mean,
love to see a cool little live show like that.
especially the ABC special. That was actually really funny. You know,
Funny, cool, well put together. They
yeah.
had a cameo by Sporty Spice, like
Yes,
awesome.
man.
Eric
Which,
Michael, shout out to Eric Michael from OTown who put it together.
yeah,
So good, so freaking good.
that was
Um,
amazing, man.
so good. Yeah,
But yeah, I
great.
mean, when it comes down to it, there has been for our lives in particular, there has been a lot of things and a lot of people that we've kind of had the opportunity to see. But you know, what would you say when it comes down to, let's just say, meeting people? You know, who were some of the absolute best people that you've gotten to meet in your lifetime?
All right, I'm gonna name three little different situations, and
Hmm.
we're gonna bring it back to like the live shows and seeing this. I
Yeah.
think O-Town does such a cool job collaborating with LFO, with Brad from LFO, that live
Yes.
show. Since unfortunately, you know, Rich and I'm blinking here,
Devin.
Davin have
Yeah.
passed. So they go and perform with him, and I think it's such a cool way that they honor his past group members and the show they put together, and how O-Town like comes in and he does the raps. I do think it's
Yeah.
just freaking awesome. So this will come to me being a flight attendant. So the girl on TV that Rich wrote a couple
Ah.
songs about, I had her
Mhm.
on one of my first flights as a flight attendant, young kid, 22 years old. I'm briefing the exit row, and it's like a red eye from LA to New York, and I just kind of pause. I'm like, and I forget what I'm saying, and she just kind of smiles. She was in business class, but
Wow.
at the airline at the time that I was at, our business class, one of the rows was in the exit row. So
Hmm.
later on, I'm walking through the aisle, and she kind of like grabs my arm, and I was like, "Hey!" And her boyfriend at the time that she was on a show with was in the bathroom. She's like, "I'm trying to order some food. Can you help me figure this out?" She's like, "I'm usually up there, but it was full." So, and I was like, "Oh no, yeah, let me help you." And like Jennifer Love Hewitt was my freaking like woman
Whoa.
crush before I knew I liked dudes. Like, so I was just like, oh my God, like I know what you do. This is my favorite. So I'm like helping her order her food, get a glass of wine, and then we had live TV on there, and I changed the channel, and I think it was like TBS or something. I know what you did last summer was on. I was like, oh, this movie was okay. It was a number one movie though. Like I just was just rambling and sounding so stupid, and she laughed. She's like, I love you.
Wow.
You're so funny. So later on, she comes to the back to use the restroom, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you going to New York for?" And just like trying to be nice, but she's standing there like awkwardly, like silence. And she was filming. What was the show that she was on with Jamie Kennedy? Is it Ghost Whisperer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sure
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. So anyway, final descent. We're doing compliance. My coworker, my friend, she was like telling her to put her bag away something, and she's like, I'm doing it. And I was like, and I was behind my friend, and then she reaches out and she goes, I just want to let you know you're like the best flight attendant I've ever had, and da da da. And then I was
Oh.
like, well, I have to just let you know that like you were like my crush growing up, before I knew girl. And she's like, and then she's had a couple glasses of wine, and she's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And I was like, it was me, it wasn't you. And then her and Jamie start laughing. And she's like, okay, I'm like putting out a book about love, and that's like one of the chapters. So it's so funny that you said that. And I was like, oh
Wow.
my God, that's hilarious. I was like, yeah, I used to have your song on my pager. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, what song? I was like, I mean, how do I deal? And she's like,
Yep.
I'm so embarrassed that I try to sing. And I was like, no, you're great. She's like, thank you. So then we're gonna take this back, like
Wow.
fast forward like 5 years later, 6 years
Yeah.
later. I have her in first class, and I'm not working it, but my friend is, and I was like blocking the cockpit. They were doing a break for the pilots, and
Hmm.
my friend's like, "Hey, can you get her another Sprite Zero?" I'm like, "Sure." So I come over. She's pregnant. She's married to a new guy, a younger guy, and I come over and I bring her drink, and she's like, "I know you." And she points at me, and I was like, "You do?" She's like, and at
Wow.
the time, I didn't have my wings on. I think I just had like the generic like wing without a name. And
Yeah.
she goes, Andrew, and I was like, close. I was like, Anthony. She's like, see, she's like, I remember you. She's like, and
Oh.
like back then I had like a freaking 2009 blowout. Like now at the time when I saw her again, I was shade head. Anyway, I was like, oh
Wow.
my God. I was like, you're doing so much better. What an upgrade. She's like, what do you, and she saw her husband and she's like, wait, who was I with back then? And I'm like, it was in 2009. And then she goes, oh yeah. And then I just laughed. I was like, nice ring too. Anyway, it was really cool that she remembered me because that was literally like
Wow.
years later and looked completely different. And so
Yeah.
that was a really cool. That was a number one. So besides TLC, one of my favorite girl
Hmm.
groups is Danity Kane. And
Yeah.
I became friends with Aubrey from Danity Kane from
Hmm.
going to a club that she was hosting in San Francisco. Had no idea that she was going to be there. It's one of my friend's birthdays, and it was just like this, like very like crazy crowded hip hop 18 and over club because I think one of the girls wasn't 21 yet, whose birthday it was. And anyway, they're like, she comes out and like is hosting the night. And I was like, oh my God, that's my favorite girl from making the band. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go take a picture, guys. I'll see you later. And one of my friends comes with me, take the photo, get in the big long line that they were having there. And she's like, oh my God, I love your ring. And I was like, I love your dress. I love your. She's like, stay up here and drink with me tonight. I don't have any friends with me. I was like, oh, you know what? I have like all my girls with me, and these guys here are kind of aggressive and crazy. She's like, oh, bring them up here. So we literally drank all night together. She's like,
Wow.
yeah, whenever we're in town, like hit me up and I'll get you tickets. And like we literally, it was like, a fan who became like one of my best friends, and like to this day we're still super close. And got
Wow,
to do some
man.
really cool, dope things. Like okay, this is where everyone's gonna be a little jealous. So I got to go to the original TRL and
Oh,
see like the behind the scenes of it and like MTV and like the end of the glory days,
yeah.
So that is something like I'm super thankful for those girls. And it was actually that week
Man.
of their album release of Welcome to the
Come on,
Dollhouse. So
man.
that, yeah. So her and the girls of DK probably
Yeah.
up there. And then we'll start with Michelle. So
Yeah.
I was working a Cancun to LA flight, and I
Hmm.
noticed this girl in like the first business row of the flight, and it's like row three. And at the time we had like paper manifest. Now it's all on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Um, and I look over, I was like, she looks really familiar. I thought it was Keely from 3LW. The girl had no makeup on.
Yeah.
So I go to the front, look at the manifest, and it says Tanitra Williams. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And then the lead flight attendant was like an older woman. She's like, what? And I was like, Michelle Williams is in main cabin select. And she's like, huh? And then she's like, that's not Michelle Williams. I was like, yes, it is. She's like, that lady is black. And I was like, no, not the actress. I was like, Destiny's Child, Beyonce's group. Do you know who Beyonce is? She's like, yes. I was like, she was in Beyonce's group. She's like, oh, okay. So I go to the back, tell my friend in the back, and she's like, oh, she had a Bailey's and coffee earlier. Go bring her another one. And so her gospel album, her third gospel album, had just came out a week before. And this is like when
Wow.
Instagram didn't have Instagram stories. So
Oh, yeah.
what she would do is if you bought her album and you posted it, she'd go and repost your post on her Instagram. And
Hmm.
at the time, like I used to not buy internet back then, and I'm like, hey, can I use your internet real quick? I was like, I need to like buy her album real quick just to go show her. I need to have like a reason to talk
Dude.
to her. So buy the album. I go over there with like a tray with my phone on it and like a Bailey's and coffee. And I was like, oh, ma'am, and I'm trying to hand her the drink. She's like, oh, I already got it. And I was like, no. And put it down for her. And then I hold up my phone and she's like, oh my God. And I was like, congratulations on your like seventh and number one album. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she's like, thank
Wow.
you so much. She's like, I've had a really bad day and you just literally like brightened my day. So thank you. And I was like, no, thank you. Like, this is so cool. I was like, congratulations. And so later on, we're deplaning, we're going through customs, and I see her and I go up to one of the gate agents and I'm like, we had like maybe 100 people in front of her from the prior flight, whoever got off their flight.
Hmm.
LAX, it gets kind of crazy there. I asked the gate agent, I was like,
Yeah.
hey, do we walk VIPs through, to the front? And she's like, yeah, we do. I was like, yeah, we have Michelle from Destiny's Child. She's like, okay, I'll go get her and I'll be right back. So I go get her and I'm like, hey, Michelle, my coworker is gonna walk you through so you don't have to wait. And like, she's like, oh, I'm willing to wait. And I'm like, honey, do you want to wait in this long line here? And she's like, I mean, I was willing to wait, but I mean, if you're offering, and I was like, yeah, yeah. So I come get her, and then the gate agent comes back and she's like, hey, my supervisor showed up. I can't do it anymore. And I was like, well, you can go tell Michelle that she's got to go back at the end of this line because I'm not telling her. You
Oh
told me that she
man.
could. And she's like, okay, okay, I can do it. I can do it. So she says, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. She gives me a hug, and that was a really cool moment. So like it's like probably the
Yeah.
end of the era where Twitter was like a big thing. Twitter's still a thing, but so I
Yeah.
Twitter like today I had the child of Destiny's Child on my flight, or pop culture history. That's what I said, and
Yeah.
she retweeted and she's like, I'll never forget this. So that was a cool moment. I wanted to ask for a photo so bad, but she didn't have makeup on, and I know how some girls are with that. And then in
Oh
customs,
yeah.
you're not allowed to have your phone out in customs. So that
Oh
moment was
wow.
enough for me.
Yeah.
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 So that
You'll
was
never
really
forget
cool.
it.
Never forget it. And like my favorite girl
Wow.
group. So cool. And then Jeff Timmons. So
Hmm.
this was my second O-Town concert. This was probably 2016. That photo that I had showed you was from that concert.
Okay. Yeah.
We were in the we were in the audience. We were waiting for the boys to come on. They had already done their VIP that we went to, and my friends recognized like Brian Chan from Making the Band, who was like one of the 8 contestants who didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like the outgoing one out of me and my friends, and the 2 girls that I usually go to O-Town concerts with in San Francisco. Like, go talk to him, and we want a photo. I was like, oh my God, you guys! They're like, come on, like here, have some more drinks. And I'm like, so I go say hello to him. They take the photo, and then the other girl recognizes Jeff. So Jeff, lives in Vegas from 98
Yeah.
Degrees. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to this guy. You guys don't need to tell me. And like they're one of my favorite boy bands. And so we go
Yeah.
up to him like, hey Jeff, I'm like, how's it going? My name's Anthony. Huge fan. And he goes and supports the boys. They're all buddies and have done multiple projects together and whatnot. And I tell him, I'm like, dude, you're like pop culture history. And he's like, wait, what'd you say? And I say it again. He's like,
Wow.
wow, I've never been called that. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, anyway, we get a
Wow.
photo with him. He was very nice, very cool guy. Just like, like they've all been really awesome, genuinely great boy band dudes, like
Oh
artists.
yeah.
He kind of gives that Trevor Pennick vibe, just like very
Yeah.
genuine, like cool to be
Definitely.
around. And like, yeah, I think after this show though, because everybody kept throwing him, they're all boy band shows. I think he stays off to like the back now because they recognize him, and it's like,
Yeah.
ants on candy. But that
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
cool.
Man, I mean, you actually got to meet some amazing people in your life, man. Just those 3 stories, man. I'll say from experience, Jeff is tremendous. Like he really is down to earth and 100%
Phenomenal
authentic.
guy.
Which I guess leads us to the last point is O-Town's tour is coming up.
Hey,
Hey, O-Town tour is coming up, which means we have to go to a show.
have to go to a show, man.
They're coming to Dallas, and that is the closest they're coming to around me. So
I'll
I
meet
will
you
be
there.
making a trip there. You coming?
I'll meet you there, man. I have a layover. I have a long one, so we get to link up.
Oh yeah.
I'll wear my O-Town hat.
Yeah, man. I need to. I have an O-Town shirt, but knowing me, I'll probably just wear my Frack and Friend shirt. Actually, I'll probably wear my same usual costume, like people say.
Hey, man, you
Well,
represent your brand.
that's right, man. That's right.
You
You
are you
walk
are your
in.
best spokesman for it.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
really true.
O-Town shows are always just. Yeah, I've probably been to 18 O-Town concerts, and it's so
Oh,
funny because, yeah, what was the latest Marvel
wow,
movie that
man.
came out?
Doctor Strange.
Um, Doctor Strange. So my little brother is a huge X-Men Marvel freak. He has seen it like 6 times. I was like, Brett, why are you going to go see this again? That's ridiculous. And he's like, why do you go see O-Town for? What have you seen them 9 times? And I was like, times 2? He's like, see? And I was like, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah. I mean, and okay, actually, let's end on that note. First of all, what makes you go see O-Town over and over again?
What I love is being able to just, music makes me feel good. These shows that they put on, like I said, they put on one of the best live shows that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just such a vibe, such a cool, they'll do, big, locations, and they'll do like House of Bluesy type locations. And even though sometimes like they change the show every about 5, 6 months. So there's always like a
Mhm.
different mashup they do, or a different lineup of songs and stuff. And I love bringing people along with me, friends, coworkers, a sister, whatnot, just to see the show, because they think that they're these
Wow,
corny
man.
boy band dudes like from this one show that, oh, they had these 3 hits, and then they
Yeah,
see
yeah.
this like grown up version of them. They're like, dude, they can blow. These guys can sing. So I love that, and I just love like their energy and their stage presence and how interactive they are with the crowd, and they're genuinely like really great like men, and freaking awesome show, like there's not more I can say.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, my very first
And
OTown.
they're like doing the moves.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That was the most impressive thing ever was, their vocals and their moves like blew me away because, it's just a fun show. It's a different kind of show than most boy band shows I've gone to. They're generally there to have a great time with their fans. And
And
you
you can
can
tell
just
they're
see
having a great time on stage. Yeah.
most definitely, man. And it's really, really cool though. And I'm really excited. This will be my third O-Town show in the last year. So I'm
Hey, you're
very,
getting up there.
yeah, I might go to the fourth one too the next night. We're gonna see it. I'm probably gonna end up going to the I think it's called Plano and something else, but it's literally an hour and a half from each other, one after the next. So I'm really excited. I love the guys. I love the townies. I think everyone is just so amazing and
And
kind.
there's such a camaraderie with us townies. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a newer townie, but I didn't get to know all these like really cool, awesome girls and a handful of dudes like in the beginning.
Hmm.
But I've gotten to know like a great like 5, 10 of them now, and they're just really awesome fans, and they're just so welcoming and like cool people and like great energy, and like it's just so fun to see them in different cities. Like, hey, oh man, I'm sorry about that night. I had a little too, or there's like, no, you're hilarious, and yeah.
It's incredible,
So
man. They're wonderful people. First time I saw O-Town in Houston, I was just blown away by the fan base, just how welcoming and sweet they were. And I see some of them pretty quite often over the weekend. Well, over the
at
DNA,
Backstreet.
yeah, I saw quite a lot of them, and it was just incredible because a lot of the townies are some of my dearest friends because they're just so
They're
sweet, and
awesome.
all of them are gonna be at the Dallas one too. By the way, every single
Oh,
one of
nice, cool,
them. Yeah,
very
yeah,
cool.
man. But yeah, man, I want to thank you for coming on the
Can't
show,
wait.
man. It's
It's
we're
always
gonna
fun, always a great time.
be shooting an episode, probably something. We're gonna do something live, I'm sure, in Dallas, and be my first time in Dallas, so I'm really excited about that. And
That'll
uh,
be fun. I'll have to give you some recommendations on food. One of my best friends lives there,
yeah, for sure,
so
man. Because I have no idea. I haven't looked up anything about Dallas. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you, brother. I'm really, really excited about that. And
I'm excited to
um,
meet you.
yeah, man, we're gonna have a good time. And all those townies out there, we're gonna take over Dallas, even for just one
Shout out
night.
to the townies, the best.
Well, guys,
Biased.
this is the Frack and Friend Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for the support and just always sharing the love. We'll see you guys next week.